Sunday afternoon. We are so excited to have you all here. And what you just heard was the ticking of the climate clock, which we know is ticking for every one of us here. But what we are also here to acknowledge is the waking up of this community. And the awakening to the climate change crisis is potentially the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity that we face in our lifetime. Yeah. So in light of the frustration and the intensity of this conversation, we are asking to frame this movement, this rally, in a context of mindfulness. And mindfulness simply means clarity of what is actually happening, clarity of perception. So I invite you all to take a moment, notice the feeling of your feet grounded into the earth. And take a full round of breath in. Full round of breath out. Noticing that we are actually here right now is an incredibly powerful way to start this conversation, because it is tempting to project into the future and it is tempting to project into the past, but really right here and right now is where we can be effective agents of change. Next, I want you to notice any emotions that are coming up in your belly, in your chest. And again, take a full round of breath in. And a full breath out. For me, it's frustration and confusion and sometimes helplessness. So allow whatever is coming up to be there. You don't have to push it away. But I encourage you and I invite you to give it space so that these conversations and these actions that are taken come from a place of clarity of mind, and those feelings of frustration and confusion don't muddle our minds, don't determine our reactions to this crisis. And finally, I ask you to notice any fears, any stories, any judgments that you come to today with around the climate change crisis and this challenge. Take a full round of breath in. And a full breath out. Recognition that we truly need a cooperative, clear effort for this to mean anything. So I invite you all to listen with openness, recognition of new ideas coming in. I invite you to speak with compassion for the people that are here as well as the people that are not yet here, because we truly need it to be a cooperative effort. And I also invite you to come at this with your most clear minds and fullest hearts and best energy to save this planet that I am so grateful to be standing on. I'm so grateful for this community. My name is Carrie Wischusen, and I truly see you all for being here. I thank you all for being here, and I am excited for the rest of our speakers today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Carrie. So today has featured more climate action across the world than any other day in history.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah!
7 continents, 162 countries, 2,663 cities have risen up.
Yeah.
And this is only the beginning of a long campaign of climate action, because our planet is not dying, it's being killed.
Right.
That's the situation.
Right.
It's within our power as a species to save it.
Yes.
You know what? I believe that we will save it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to stand before you and tell you it'll be easy. We've known about climate change for decades, and I can't imagine how frustrating it must have been to be living through this process and seeing the blindness and the sleepwalking nature of our governments and our industries.
Yeah.
So I sympathize. It must have been about as frustrating as it is to be young today, to come of age in the shadow of environmental collapse, to know that unless you fight now and you fight hard, your adulthood will be dominated by rising seas, stronger storms, war, famine. Now, it's not a mystery how we got here. You want to know when CO2's heat-trapping interaction with ozone was discovered? 1859.
Wow.
The basic science of this has long been clear, but thanks to deliberate misinformation on the part of fossil fuel companies and the gross inaction of our leaders, we're at a dangerous inflection point. The UN IPCC report told us that we have about 12 years to reverse course on emissions.
Right.
Or global warming will spiral into a series of feedback loops and heat our planet to deadly levels.
Right.
But we're on the cusp of something else too. In the past few years, I've seen it. The public is finally waking up to the threat of the climate crisis.
Yes.
Today, here, now, Charleston is waking up.
Yes.
All of you. That is what this is.
Yes.
We will not be paralyzed by pessimism. Let me tell you, there's no greater antidote for despair than action. We have a tremendous opportunity in front of us to take a hold of our future, to clean our air, to create millions of green jobs and renewable energies, to literally save the world.
Yes.
How incredible is that? How many times in human history have you been able to say, I'm working to actually save the world? But that's what we're here to do.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. That's it.
So we put together today's rally to give y'all an on-ramp to climate activism. Whether it be our organization, Climate Reality Charleston, the youth-led Sunrise Movement, High Schoolers Welcome, helping out the conservation voters of South Carolina with their campaigns, or volunteering with the SC Aquarium's efforts. Today is your opportunity to join something bigger than yourself, and I invite you to take that. So coming up, we have Queen Quet. She has been on the front lines of this. She has done presentations to the climate change, what was it, Queen Quet? The UN. She's done. Yes. Yes, front lines. Let's all hear for Queen Quet.
Good afternoon, honey children. How honey to do? That's what I'm talking about. Now, honey children, you had me to crack my teeth like a this year because I Gullah Geechee. So we crack my teeth, we crack them like a this year. So I get it this year word climate. And in we language, that sounds like climb it. So when I been there, I sit down. I study about that thing. And I say, you know, the table tapper tell we claim it. So we have to claim the action we are for the day. So when I say climate, you say action, climate. 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 So now, all these other rest of people with a cracky teeth and things like that, they don't crack your teeth like me, right? They talk to you like this. And they act like they really understand your issues when they want your vote. They tell you that, you know, we're going to do the things necessary to enact the programs, and I have a plan. And then you say, well, how are you going to pay for it? Well, don't worry about that. But me and my team, if you vote for me, we're going to do this. Well, they might claim it, but they got to act upon it. And it's going to take us to make sure they take action. What's that word again? Action. What's that word again? Action. Because most people tell us that the massive budgets it would take to fight against climate change and sea level rise and ocean acidification aren't possible. They're too high to get over. But what did Michael tell us? And too low to get under, right? But we can climb it if we claim it and we take action against it. You don't have to have a whole bunch of huge folks doing something. It's having a whole bunch of us together doing something that makes the difference. So, I sat over here with other citizens of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I want Elder Carly Town to bring up our flag. Because most of you have seen it over and over. It's right in the plastic bag right there. You see that clear bag? That is environmentally sound. It's recycled material. And so, here it is, that in the center of the Gullah Geechee Nation flag is a tree. And most of you who are familiar with the work of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition know that our motto is Huna must take care of the root for heal the tree. But you can only take care of the roots if they are planted and firm in soil that is safe, that is not polluted by offshore drilling. It's not polluted by coal. It's not polluted by all these things that others who are just making money about it want to tell us it's okay. A little bit of that is not a problem. Well, I never heard someone say a little bit of cancer is not a problem. And this is a cancer to not only our community in the Gullah Geechee Nation from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, but to our global community. So we claim that we are going to fight back. We are going to rise like the sea I saw the best sign I've seen. There it is, right there. The seas are rising, and we are too. And this is the only kind of sea that I want to see around here too, rising too. So, some of y'all have heard this before, because you know I heard I'm at a college. So y'all probably know the response to this. Don't stop. There we go. Only one person want to be honest out here. The response to that, don't stop, is get it, don't stop. Get it. Don't stop. Get it. Don't stop. Get it. We're going to get the change that we want because we're standing with the world today. We're striking out against all those who want more money instead of cultural legacy. And so, as I sat down, the Creator said to me, let them know what climate really means to me. Well, climate for me is cultural legacy. All right, that's first two letters, cultural legacy, in movement, acting, and truthfully engaged. And so just like my elders, my ancestors, sang right up on these sea island and thing all around the peninsula, we started a song that in the 50s and the 60s became nationally known, then became internationally known. And as I waited to come up here, that song started playing in my mind. And it said, I know the one thing we did right was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on. I know the one thing we did right was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I know the one thing we did right was the day we started to strike. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, fight back, change the climate, talk about peace and love.
Let's hear it for Queen Quinn. So next up, we have the mayor of Arkansas City, John Tecklenburg, here to talk to you about what we're going to do as a city to confront the climate crisis.
Y'all really expect me to follow that? I mean, come on now. I don't even have a piano up here.
Play your instrument, Mayor.
So shout out to Belden. Where's Belden? He's putting all this together, man. He's really doing a great job. And Carrie, and Queen Grant, she is something, isn't she? And she was out there just last Friday with me out at Boyne Island on James Island, where Congressman Cunningham was there, and we were celebrating the fact that Joe Cunningham got passed in the U.S. House of Representatives a prohibition against offshore drilling. So now you just need to contact Senator Graham and Senator Scott and make sure they do the same thing over on that Senate side.
Right.
Isn't that right, Queen?
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So we could probably talk on about that. But you know, South Carolina, it's not just offshore, it's onshore.
Absolutely.
We do not have the commercial waterfront space to accommodate storage and refining and processing of crude oil.
And we don't want
Where
it.
did we put that at? The Edisto River?
And we don't want
the
it.
Santee River?
We don't want it.
The Cooper River's already full up.
All right.
So it's just such common sense that there be no offshore
Common sense
drilling
is not so
in South
common.
Carolina. So speaking of energy, you know, you got this little thing here. One of the top things on here is the demand a 5-year plan to close South Carolina's 5 coal plants for power generation. So that's a big deal. these plants, you can see it here, emit 2/3 of our carbon emissions in our state. I mean, burning coal is just bad news, and that brings up a memory from last year. Charleston was blessed to be one of the 5 sites in the nation where we auditioned or premiered the film that Michael Bloomberg had co-wrote or co-produced called Paris to Pittsburgh, right?
Yep.
And if y'all hadn't seen it, you can get it online. Paris to Pittsburgh. It's really an amazing film. It's about an hour long. It really tells this story as will be told to you today. Michael Bloomberg has really been an incredible leader in addition to being a mayor of New York City and inspiring other mayors. He has solely financed so many coal-powered plants being converted in this country. And the goal is to get rid of coal-powered plants. And we still have them here in South Carolina, and some by the state-owned utility, Santee Cooper. So we need to talk to our state legislators about about that. So, you know, this film, if you watch it, and you know this already, our national government, I mean, they just, in this regard, folks, they're just heading in the wrong direction. Our president, he abandoned the Paris Climate Accord. He abandoned it. And he doesn't even, you know, appreciate the fact that real science is behind climate change and what's going on our planet.
He doesn't know what science is.
I'm a chemistry major from college. And science really counts. So I know y'all have heard of this wonderful young lady from Sweden, Greta Thunberg, right? She just won the 2019 Ambassador of Conscience Award. And do you know what she said about Americans? She said, y'all have this mentality that you either believe it or you don't believe it. Over here in Sweden, it's a fact. It's a fact, she says. It is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. And so Charleston, South Carolina is on the front line because of sea level rise, right? Okay, so listen to this. Even before all this conversation about climate change and science, we've been measuring, somebody's been measuring Charleston Harbor for over 100 years as to the level of sea. And it has risen, this may not sound like a lot, a little over a foot in the last 100 years. A little over a foot. But here's the thing. In the last 20 years, the rate of increase of sea level rise right in our own harbor has quadrupled. 4 times faster in the last 20 years. It's on record, it's measured. Do simple math, and in 50 years, we'll have another 2 to 3 feet of sea level rise in the low country. Mary Edna did this beautiful batik here, right? Y'all know Mary Edna Fraser over here, she's amazing. So, you know what happens? You know what happens to this map when you see just a 3-foot sea level rise? A lot of this dark blue is going to be all over this place where we're living right now. So we're on the front line, and last year, boy, this really hit me. Y'all remember Hurricane Florence? What a big load of rain it dropped on upper South Carolina and lower North Carolina. Listen to this. Twice as much rain was delivered from that hurricane because of a 1 degree difference in the ocean temperature that Florence passed over. 1 degree difference in ocean temperature caused twice as much rain in a 50-mile wider storm than would have been otherwise. It's remarkable. And it's not just coastal areas. Y'all remember all those fires last year in the West?
Yeah.
1 degree difference means a 35% increase in destruction by fires in our country.
Right.
It's not just us along the coast. It's folks all over the climate.
Right.
And that's why I'm proud that this mayor joined mayors across this country to pledge to meet the Paris Climate Accords in the city of Charleston by the year 2050. And we can do that with your help.
Yes.
So I know there are many other speakers, and they're going to talk about the things that we all can do to make a difference in climate change, because we're in this boat together. Ain't we, Queen Gret?
Yes, we are.
Yes, I can't sing like her, but God bless you. Thank you.
God
Keep
bless
it up.
you.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor. So first of all, I want to thank Richard Hagerty and Melissa Dixon for creating the key art that we have there, the beautiful sunflower earth. Applause for Duke. Coming up next, we have College of Charleston Professor Norm Levine, who is a NOAA and NASA climate scientist and the director of the Low Country Hazard Center. So let's hear it for Professor Norm Levine.
Thank you. It's so good to see all of you out here.
Yes, it
This
is.
is wonderful. Now, I am the science person, which means that I want to start with a couple of things and just follow up a little bit of what the mayor just said. Okay? Facts are. Science is.
Yes.
Climate change is.
Is.
These are real. This is not fake news.
Thank you.
Scientists have been working and studying and talking and bringing this to the attention of people for a long time. And this is not something that is new, that just crept up on us.
Right.
It's not something that we didn't know was happening. It's not something, I'm a geology professor, that wasn't in the history of the earth that we've seen changes. It's that we as people have accelerated and made these changes happen at a rate that's never happened before.
Right.
We have changed the way our planet reacts to things. This is science. This is not opinion. There's a difference. When she spoke and it was asked about how the U.S. views things, her comment was, we take this as opinion, not as fact. This is your job,
Right.
to be out there and know this is fact, that there is science behind it.
Yes.
That, as the mayor said, we have been measuring changes in our harbor. We have been watching the changes in our storms. We have been seeing the changes in our weather patterns.
Right.
We know that these things are happening. We know that we have options, that there are things we can do about changing climate, but it is up to you. It is up to you to move forward and help make these things reality,
Right.
to do something about it, to speak to the truth
Right.
of what is going on. As a scientist, I'm standing here to say the science behind climate change is solid.
Yeah.
The science is accepted worldwide.
Wide.
The science is not opinion
Exactly.
about what's going on. The science is. And I want you to think about that. It is. It is reality.
Yes.
It is here.
Yes.
It is now.
Yes.
It is what we now face. I have been working within climate change, and I hate to admit this, since the 80s, when I first started as a student working on issues and working on research. And as a graduate student, we actually had federal grants back then that looked at what would happen to our communities as sea level was rising in the 80s. This is something we've known about. The inaction that has led to it can only be changed by your action.
Right.
It is you who need to speak. It is you who need to be out there. And those of you who are eligible, it is you that need to be voting on these issues. This is the election. This is the election that in many respects is about the planet.
Yes.
It's not just about small, single issues.
Right.
It's about how we move forward, how we view science,
Yes.
how we view nature,
Yes.
how we steward the earth.
Right.
And that is our job, that is our role. And as a scientist, as a geologist, as an environmental faculty member here at the college, which supports all of this, this is something that you all need to be active in.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you, I'm charging you with going forward and being the voice, that single voice that can be heard by all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Levine. So coming up, we have the first of our student speakers. These two are the co-presidents of the Wando Eco Warriors Club. Jeremiah Tong and Gillian Thomas, here to speak to you.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm Jeremiah.
Hi, Jeremiah.
Is that too close? Am I too close to it?
No, you're good.
And I'm Jillian Thomas. And we're presidents of the Eco Warriors Club at Wando High School.
Yeah.
So we're here as the youth of South Carolina, of Charleston, and we need you guys to listen to us. Because in the past, we're kids, so we get ignored, but we really need you, adults especially, to listen to us.
This is really wild being here. The world has been really important to me for a really long time. I made a sign right here. It says, I like trees, and I honestly didn't know what I was going to talk about until right here. So, I don't know, I became interested in climate change and like how it affects me because of, I'm from California, and like there used to be trash everywhere. And then my town, like recently, in the past 10 years, they implemented like a no plastic bags, and that really affected me, I think. It was wild just seeing that. It was a huge change in my community, and then I moved here, and I don't know, and then we did the same thing, and I was like, wow, it's crazy. Anyways.
So, we're teenagers, and if I know one thing about teenagers, we love to vent our frustrations about anything. And what I want to vent my frustrations about are climate change and the environment. And I think that that's pretty valid because the world has been messed up a little bit, and I would like to, my list of disagreements.
She wants to vent about it.
I want to vent about it. All right. So number one, like I said earlier, we're kids. People don't listen to us. And I really need you guys to listen to us. We're the future. We make what changes. We will see it. We will live with it. We need change. We need somebody to listen to us. On a personal note, I'm a senior, which means I'm supposed to be stressing about college, my GPA, what college I'm going to go to, like literally everything about my future. And will that future exist? It's stressful, and it's just one thing on top of another. It's almost apathetic. You think, what's the point in studying and getting good grades and going to school if I'm not going to have a future, if I'm not going to be able to live my life? And it's frustrating. And it's constantly shown to us. We see the empty recycling bins and think, we don't recycle. We see the plastic bags and the food waste in the parking lot every day, and we think, we don't care. It's everywhere, and it's frustrating. And it's so simple to just pick up your trash or recycle, and we seem to care more about money than we do about us. I know people that are giving up their passions to make the world a better place, and that's not to say we shouldn't make the world a better place. We definitely should. But they're giving up what they love and what they care about.
Passions are making the world a better place.
I think that in this day and age, we have to become passionate about saving the world, because if we do not become passionate about saving the world, it won't be saved, and then who knows? So we have to grow up very, very fast, and it's upsetting. You see 11-year-olds that are worried about climate change, and you're too young, but you're not, because it's affecting you now, and it's upsetting. People are blamed for not using metal straws, a material solution that seems to change something when in reality it's also used to profit off of us. People are pressured to go vegan, and I'm all for going vegan, but at the same time, you have to make it accessible. And there are food droughts where people cannot access that cheap, accessible, healthy foods that they need, when all they have is nothing that would help. People don't vote. People have lost their faith in the system, and that is incredibly frustrating as someone who cannot wait to vote. And I know I will do my part in this upcoming presidential election by voting, but you guys need to as well. And finally, big companies and the rich with their lavish lifestyles, they sit on their thrones of wealth while we're stuck here fighting to live, fighting for our future. Some people don't have the basic necessities to survive, and they're the ones that suffer the consequences.
I just wanted to say, thank you everyone for coming out. This is wild. I went to a strike last year, and there were 30 people maybe, less probably. And this is just crazy. I've never been to something this big. I don't know. Maybe to some person it's not that big. To me, I'm like, whoa.
So that was very pessimistic. My speech, not Jeremiah's. But I do have things I urge you guys to do, and some positives. You've already started. You're here. You're demanding change in front, and there are people here. I'm talking to actual people, not a fake audience. So that's enough. That's not enough, but that's a start, and that's what matters. And then two, as I said before, vote. Regardless of your belief in the system, of whether you think it works or not, just try. If it's not difficult to go out for a day and vote. It's so important, and it has so much impact. Please vote. Vote locally, vote nationally, vote for everybody. Vote for your kids, vote for other people's kids. Get out there and vote. Stay involved. As long as you're out there doing something, you don't necessarily need to go to every protest or write everything or recycle or become zero waste, but try, and that is what matters. Get involved. Groups exist, as we know, they're here, and they would love your help. So in turn with that, there's power in numbers, and get some friends, join a group. They'll have the resources that are available for you to get involved and to make a change. The power of an individual is important, but so is, if one individual can do so much, imagine what a big group can do.
Right.
Yeah. If you can afford to support any business that you find sustainable or environmentally friendly. I know that that has become one of my biggest personal choices. We're the consumer. We choose what we value. And if we value sustainability and if we value environment, we can make a change in demanding that. Keep resisting. Don't succumb to anything, any pressures. Resist.
That's my alarm.
And then finally, be kind to yourself. It's hard, it's really difficult, especially with activism. You'll have days that are really, really sucky and you feel awful about the environment. But there are days that are amazing and you feel so empowered and so great about the environment. So be kind to yourself. Don't put yourself down. Work from it and learn from it. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Jillian and Jeremiah. So what Jillian was just talking about is what I'm here to talk about too. It's about what you can concretely do after this rally, because that's what we're all about. It's getting people involved and locked in for the fight to come. So, we have 5 things that you can do now. 5 things that you can go home and take action on climate change with. And we're going to be handing out these flyers. We have attendants wearing cool blue vests. Raise your hand if you want one. You want one of these flyers. I'm going to be reading them out right now. So, the first of the 5 things you can do is demand a 5-year plan to close South Carolina's 5 coal plants and transition those workers to jobs in renewable energy. These plants emit about 2/3 of our state energy carbon emissions, and they don't emit nearly enough energy to make up for that. It's gross, it's over the line, it needs to end now as soon as possible. So, what you should do is find your district's legislators and call your state representative and your state senator to get them to take action on this issue. Number 2, call your city council member to demand approval and budgeting of Charleston's green plan. It's time for us to become energy efficient as we strive to reach net zero emissions. The city had a green plan a decade ago that never passed. And it's been languishing, it's been gathering cobwebs. So we should have been the past decade making our new buildings more energy efficient, having concrete plans for carbon drawdown. But the best time to do that, after 10 years ago, is now. So contact your city councilman. We have an author with our organization, Gary Smith, who put together a letter to an older person in your life. It's hard to talk to the people who don't get it. It's hard to talk to the people whose generation didn't grow up with this and are maybe for the wrong reasons stubborn and opposed to it. So what Gary's done is he's tried to put together a letter that in plaintive, emotional, and factual terms presents the challenge and invites that person in your life, whether it's your grandfather, your father, your uncle, your cousin, the person that doesn't get it and that you think could, to take a step. Because that's the most effective way to make change, is talk to someone you know, someone that is a family member. So we're going to have those letters available back there and up here. We have workshops this week. We have 10 workshops coming up in the week to come. Clap, please. I'm not going to list them all. It's stuff like climate change and mental health, cost risks and impacts of sea level rise, mindfulness, healing in the climate crisis. It's all these different dimensions of the climate crisis. There'll be a way to get really locked in, to feel like you're secure in your understanding of this crisis, to be with like-minded people. So I really recommend you go to at least 3 of these workshops that we're having in the next week. And finally, sign up with a local environmental organization. We have tables back there with our group, Climate Reality Charleston, with the youth-led Sunrise Movement and others. And this is the way we make change, is by gathering together like we are today, doing events like we're doing here, and demanding change. So thank you so much. Coming up, we have Omar Muhammad, who is a community advocate and activist involved with more things than I could do in a lifetime, and executive director of the Low Country Alliance for Model Communities, here to talk on environmental justice. Good afternoon. Hey,
I'm here today to talk about environmental justice and how low-wealth communities are disproportionately impacted by climate realities, the realities that we are facing because of climate change. And when we think about climate change, that we think about sea level rise and those types of impacts. But in low-wealth communities, climate, extreme weather events, extreme heat events, extreme cold events impacts communities, particularly low-wealth communities, in a disproportionate way. And it impacts their quality of life. So first, I am going to define what environmental justice is so that we all are working off the same framework of understanding what environmental justice is. Environmental justice, as the Environmental Protection Agency defines it, is the fair application of all laws, regulations, and rules to protect our quality of life. It also involves the meaningful engagement of communities in deciding what happens in their communities. And typically what happens, particularly in low-wealth communities, and I'm talking about Black and brown communities, these communities are not engaged in meaningful ways when sites like coal plants are sited in their communities, when industry are sited in their communities that leave legacy pollutions, that when those communities flood, that heavy metal and those toxic pollutions go into their communities with the floodwater. And they're left to deal with those legacy pollutions and the impacts of sea level rise. Also with climate change, we have to think about our low-wealth communities, particularly our vulnerable populations, our elderly and our children. They are left in homes that cannot efficiently cool and heat when there are extreme heat events and when there are extreme cold events. And those lead to health issues around asthma, heart attack, and other types of other health concerns. So when we talk about climate reality and climate change and environment, we also have to keep in mind the disproportionate impacts on those who contribute the less to the problem. When you're thinking about low-wealth communities, they do not have cars. So they're not contributing to the fossil, right, emissions. They are not purchasing items, right, that contributes to the waste in our landfill. But when those things are sited, landfills are sited disproportionate in Black and brown communities. So they receive the impacts of our consuming, right? So we have to think about our personal behaviors in which we can improve what we do so that the new climate reality that we'll be living in, that these communities will have an opportunity to improve their quality of life. And some of the things that we can do is that we can advocate for more public funding to go to weatherizing low-wealth communities, ensuring that those homes can be cooled and heat efficiently. The second thing that we can do is that when we are designing communities, when we are creating communities, that we deal with stormwater in the right way, in sustainable ways, that we're not creating situations where it floods in one area and flood in not another area. And usually, typically, usually by design, those flooding communities are low-wealth communities. They have to deal with the growth of regional areas, right? With growth comes impacts. When we are goods movement, all the consumerism that we negotiate in, we participate in, some communities are being impacted. So we have to take those things in consideration, right? Okay. So on Wednesday, I will be going in more detail on the talk. It's on the back of the pamphlet. More detail on the back about disproportionate and the unequal consequences of climate realities that we live in now, particularly in our low-wealth communities and our most vulnerable populations in our community. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Let's hear it again for Omar. Climate justice
crucial. Every aspect of climate change activism has to address climate justice so we don't leave anyone behind. So coming up, we have two young poets from SOA, Kieran Narula and Sophie Taransky.
My name is Sophie Taransky. I go to SOA for creative writing. I'm in 9th grade. The world is broken. We live in a world where we stand at the beach, toes curled, water lapping up an inch more than it did 8 years ago. The water is cold. It feels like Arctic ice, melted away for our convenience, for a world not to live in, but rather to mine for resources. Stare up at the sky, the melted blue, ozone layer fizzled away by ignorance and selfishness. Politicians pickpocketing away our lives, adding stock to their pockets and forgetting there still needs to be a world here when I grow old. So here I stand on a beach, surrounded by waves. I feel small and helpless. Because we are nothing more than shells on a beach, to be picked up and moved and handled without care, as if we are nothing more than votes in the voting booth to be crumpled up and thrown away as we cancel our primaries. We want someone to do something, but what? At the end of the day, we come here to shout our protests at a dying world. After, satisfied with the day well done, we get in our cars and drive back to our houses, flick on the lights, and hope someone does something. It feels hopeless, arguing a lost cause, but we cannot let the cause be lost. We come to a rally, hear our rallying cry. Through hurricane or flood, we will stand here and shout. Shout for someone more important than us to notice, and change for we cannot change alone. And when we stand on the beach, feet in the water, we need to remember there is always another chance, but one day there might not be. By the time I am 25 years old, scientists have predicted global warming will be irreversible, the damage unstoppable. So instead of waiting for someone to do something, we need to realize that we shape our own future. We are our own future, and we need to do something.
Right.
So if you are above age, ask yourself what you're doing to help climate change and who you're voting for. Or if you're younger than that, go home and ask your parents what they're doing. There will be no massive change. It's only millions of people working hard, making small changes individually that will rise into this effort that will actually save the world. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Kieran Narula, and I'm also at the School of the Arts. I'm a sophomore. I'm going to be reading a poem today that focuses on ocean pollution. It's called Salt. It looks at how, in an attempt to benefit our own lives and ourselves, we end up harming the world around us. And it shows how important it is to not only notice these things that we do, but take note of them and do something about it. So this is my poem, Salt. One day, there was no salt left in the ocean. It had disappeared along with the tuna and the humpback whales. There one day and gone the next. A child drinks, sees if it tastes the same as the tap water from his sink. It tastes of sand and dead coral. He peels the skin off of dead fish like the clementines in the bowl in his kitchen. He drinks until his arms float and then his toes. He doesn't stop sipping. He's told that water is the backbone of life. He doesn't want to die like the tuna and the humpback whales, like the fish who he skins like citrus. He is floating over the ocean now, sees little feet and little hands dipped in water, little mouths drinking. He keeps going up, sees little bodies with little hands reach up and follow him. The child is in the clouds now, a village of children who sipped the water and skinned the animals. They don't seem to notice each other. They are too busy with the fish skin they wear like armor. He notices them all, though, wrapping themselves with scales like they own the ocean. He feels the weight of dead skin in his palms and wonders why the children cherish it. Wonders if they notice him throw it under the clouds. Hopes it lands back in the water. Thank you.
That was Karen Narula, and before that was Sophie Taransky. Coming up next, Alliance for Planet Earth is the College of Charleston Club that we couldn't have done this without. Literally could not have gone to space without them. They're excellent, they're dogged. They have a table back there, and we have two of their membership about to speak. That is Rowan Emerson and Tamara Alcuzo.
Hello. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Because this needs to be heard, I guess. Well, not I guess, because you got me. I know you do. So we all know exactly what it is that we need to do, right? I mean, you hear all these politicians, they say that, oh, climate change doesn't exist, or oh, human impact doesn't have a really big deal on how our climate is going. This is just something that's natural. Well, no, it's not. We actually do, we affect our planet in so many ways, and we can't just sit back and just say, oh, that's too sad. Like, we all know the things that we need to do and the action that we need to take in order to save our planet. But the reason that we're all here today is to find a reason why, right? Yeah. We all love our planet and we need to take care of it. Yeah? I mean, I'm here to tell you a reason why. Do you guys remember that movie Rio from like a couple of years ago about the balloon cause? Well, I'm here today to tell you that they went extinct like a couple months ago, which sucks. Which means that our children will not live with the same species that we grew up with, which is really sad. Or the fact that they may have to face like greater risks for, I don't know, cancer and other diseases that come with exposure from ultra rays that come from the hole in the ozone. We need to find reasons why we care for this planet. We need to change our mentality about how we take care of ourselves in terms of the earth. Sustainability is real, and we need to change our lifestyles and incorporate the earth in everything that we do. That's the only way that we can improve as a human population. And I'm here to tell you that it starts with you. You can't blame, I don't know, China or Switzerland or anybody. You have to start with yourself. This is something that we all contribute to, so it's something that we all need to contribute to fix. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rowan Emerson. I'm a sophomore at Charleston, as well as a leader for Alliance for Planet Earth, a student-run, student-led sustainability organization here on campus. Shout out. I'm here to talk about another important aspect of climate change, and those are the mental health effects that climate change can have on each and every one of us. As a Gen Z kid, ours will be one of the first generations to feel the full impacts of climate change. I only got the right to vote a year ago. My say in this impending future has been non-existent since then. I wake up some mornings with dread. Dread that I will pick up a newspaper, that I will pick up my phone and I'll read a report that just says, the future's canceled. We have done too little, too late. That we have simply let others in our country and in our world decide for us, act for us, lead for us. I'm sure many of you here also feel the same type of dread. I don't like being 19 years old and living in an existential crisis. My mother likes to joke with me that I'm having a midlife crisis. And the way the world is going, who knows? Maybe she's right. Now in the psychiatric community, they now have terms for this, such as eco-anxiety and climate grief to describe the negative health effects that climate change is having on us. Grief for a world that soon could be lost. I'm not terrified just by where the world is going, but also by the apathy of those who see where it is going. People say that I care too much, and that terrifies me, because I think they care too little. And whether that's yelling at my roommates who are in the crowd right here, support me, whether that's yelling at them to recycle or to not use plastic bags, to picking up trash on my walks to school, I'm looked at with sideways glances, like it's peculiar that I care, that I try. We have to stop pretending like others are going to pick up the pieces for us. Robert Swan once observed, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." We have to stop doing nothing because we can't do everything. We want our community to start acting now, beginning with our college. Alliance for Planet Earth recognizes that College of Charleston has made great strides in sustainability over the years, and we are grateful to be a part of this community. However, for the sake of continuing on this path with urgency, we have 3 goals that we want to set to prioritize this movement in bigger ways. 1, with the school's goal of going zero waste by 2030 being pushed back from 2025, we would like to see more urgency in the compost infrastructure beyond the dining halls. At last year's waste audit, the Office of Sustainability, as well as Alliance for Planet Earth, found that 2/3 of all waste could have been diverted to composting, and only 29% had to go to landfill. We're not doing enough. Second, within the next year, we would like to push Ecosia on all library computers, a free search engine that plants trees in hotspots of biodiversity all over the world for free, by searching the internet. That's all you have to do. Third and finally, we would like all workers at the College of Charleston to have their inputs in the changes in the areas of their expertise. As we know, the students come and go, but the people who work on installing and continuing to implement these advancements are the real backbones of change here, not just the students. We cannot continuously define humanity by what we hold constant. Humanity is defined by the changes we undergo more than any continuity. And now is the time for radical change. Now is the time to prove our own humanity. I repeat it again, stop doing nothing because you can't do everything. The seas are rising, and so will we. Thank you.
Alliance for Planet Earth, thank you. So playing off the climate change and mental health bit, we do have a workshop specifically about that. It's going to be at the college, at the Robert Scott Smalls building, this coming Friday, a week from now, 5 to 6:30 p.m. So if you want to hear more about that from a psychiatric professor, please attend that workshop. I want to thank Gloria Bromel Tinubu, who is a challenger to Lindsey Graham. I really want to say that.
Gullah Geechee gonna beat Lindsey Graham.
Yes. I want to thank, his name is Tomas Cruz. He rigged this. He put together this really impressive feat of engineering. So let's hear it for Tomas Cruz. Internationally acclaimed environmental artist and folk singer Mary Edna Fraser, who created these 2 large batik panels. She's here to speak to us right
now. Hey y'all, my boss is 80 years old, and we wrote a book called Global Climate Change, a Primer, and it came out with Duke University in 2011. He's professor emeritus at Duke University. That's Dr. Orrin Pilkey. And I'm speaking on behalf of him. Y'all are great. You're great. When we wrote our book, only 33% of Americans believed in climate change. Now, 75% do. So we're making change. But guess what? We know Greta, but a lot of people don't. So tell everybody about Greta. And I want to give you a few words that I want you to say after me. Power to the people. Power to the people. Delete apathy. Delete apathy. Climate change is real. Climate change is real. And now, with apologies to Bob Dylan, we're going to sing. There are lots of people that have this song. Come gather around people wherever you roam. The times they are a-changing. But we're going to say, for the climate is a-changing. So anybody that knows it, I sang it in 1963. I've been a folk singer that long. All right. So I want to, anybody who's got the words that wants to sing, please do. Come gather round people wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. It's worth saving. Well, you better start swimming, or you sink like a stone, for the climate is changing. Come writers and critics who prophesy with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will be later to win, for the climate is changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he get hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside is raging, and it'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the climate is changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand, for the climate is a-changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be last, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the climate is a-changing.
Yes, power to the people. Yes. Yes. Power to the people.
Thank you, Marianna.
Yeah.
Let's say in a year we do this again and y'all study up on that song lyrics in the meantime.
Right.
So coming up, we have Tala Rosal, who is a student at Ashley Hall.
Hello all. So I'm a senior at Ashley Hall, and unfortunately we really don't have any clubs, but I am a great proponent for the climate crisis and resolving it, and I just would like to say a few words, and thank y'all, okay? Okay. I
originally was going to fill this speech with facts and figures about how much we as a society have ruined our planet. However, yesterday, I heard my amazing biology teacher speak about how we need to honor the planet. And so last night I stayed up and rewrote it to give it a positive spin. So I hope you all enjoy. Our Earth is a beautiful thing. And it is not my job to scare you, to cower and have fear for the future, but to empower you to get up and do what is right. We are not powerless. Together, we as a common people can use our abilities to help the Earth one small step at a time. You have a class across campus, take your bike. All your friends are going to a party somewhere, cram as many people you legally can into that one car to save on emissions. You need to pick up some food from the store, bring your own reusable bag with you. I want to tell y'all how many purses I have ruined with the smell of ham because I refuse to get a plastic bag. Going to a coffee shop like the one I work at, pretty much every single coffee shop will accept your reusable cups and happily fill them up for you. Down with the single-use plastic coffee cup. I'm done with it. I'm done. And also the straws. Once again, they only make up 0.05% of the plastic pollution in our ocean. And now I'm not saying don't use reusable straws, but it takes a lot more to be an environmentally conscious person than a reusable straw on your keychain. We live in this day and age where every single person here can make a difference. The crisis has gotten so bad, every little thing can help exponentially. However, a large portion of the population does not even believe in the crisis or that it even exists, or they want to help. Dear Lord. There's a good portion of people here in America who see Mother Nature only as a spectacle to take vacations to or as a resource to exploit. Those people always say the same thing. Maybe this is just normal. We can't actually do anything about it. And perhaps my biggest pet peeve of all, at least we saw it before it disappeared. Too many times have I heard this in my lifetime. See beautiful, massive glaciers. At least we got to see it before it disappeared. Dive on a reef with larger-than-life coral formations. At least we got to see it before it disappeared. Gaze upon the majestic orcas of the Pacific. At least we got to see it disappear. All of my life, people told me this. People who had before encouraged me to change the world, but for some reason they thought I couldn't save it. I'm sick of that mentality. So is the rest of my generation. And that is why I am here today. To speak up, to educate, to empower. We don't have to wait for things to disappear to start caring about them. We can begin to help now. Every little thing you can do will create a domino effect. And if you educate your friends and they educate theirs, soon there will be a large part of our community also refusing to use that plastic bag at a grocery store or walking those 10 blocks instead of driving. Everyone here has the power to change the world. I'm telling you here and now. What the authority figures of the world won't tell you. You have the power. Don't be resigned to your fate. Get up and change something. We will no longer sit idly by as our planet burns. We will no longer watch passively as our lungs become clogged with smog and our waterways with plastic. My generation is growing up, and when we do, the world is going to be changed drastically. So be prepared. Be prepared for the downfall of corporations recklessly exploiting our landscape. Be prepared for the election of environmentally conscious members of the Senate and the House. Be prepared for all the makers and doers of the world to be inventing and creating things for a better future. Be prepared for innovation, but not in the term corporate wants you to think. Innovation that will turn the world on its head. We all have the power to change the world. No one is powerless in this situation. Go out into the world and strive to be the environmentally sustainable and aware person I know everyone here can be. You are the change. We as a people are the solution.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up we have Circular Congregation Minister Jeremy Rutledge. Reverend Jeremy Rutledge coming here. This is a personal issue to him, something close to his heart, and here he is.
Before I begin, I just want to take a moment. We moved here many years ago from Houston. We have so many friends today who cannot attend their climate strike because they're underwater today. And so we remember, or at least take a breath and remember all those who are suffering right now from the effects of climate change around the world. So I was asked to speak today as a religious person. And while I will speak from my own tradition, I also name my deep respect for our many different religious and philosophical traditions. In that spirit, I would like to offer just two brief thoughts and then pass the mic back to some students. First, I am here because a 15-year-old Swedish girl invited me. She's a little older now, but I felt her summons last year when Greta Thunberg first crafted her simple sign, Schools Strike for Climate, and stood outside the parliament in Stockholm to demand that adults stop talking and do something. In my religious tradition, I could recognize Greta as a prophet. Prophets are those who bear witness to an urgent concern or an injustice, oftentimes in ways that draw a lot of attention, risking scorn and unpopularity to do so. That's Greta. And prophets speak with a moral and ethical clarity that is uncompromising. Also, Greta. She tells adults that they are not doing enough. She tells governments that they are failing. She tells the rest of us that our words and our actions do not align. She tells us that nothing will be enough until we make real, substantive changes in every area of life. And she does this because, like any prophet, she can imagine a better world. The way things are now is not the way they have to be. We live in a very interesting time, Greta has said, where something is going to happen. Change is on the horizon, but to see that change, we also have to change ourselves. So I'm here to respond to Greta's prophetic call. And second, I'm here because I grew up by the ocean, and my son is now growing up by the ocean. We relate to and are nourished by the sky and sea, the marsh and coastal forest. And our way of being religious is not to spend our time imagining other worlds or heavens far away. No, we feel reverence for this world. We wonder at this nature's beauty. We feel awe here and now. The world in which we find ourselves is more than enough. Yet it is our responsibility to take good care of it. I have so many friends of different faiths and philosophies, yet the one thing that is common to each of us is that the sunset over the harbor takes our breath away. This is an experience that we all share, and Earth is our one true home. So, as a religious person, I'm drawn here by my love of our natural home and my heartfelt response to it. And I would invite everyone here to ground yourselves in love for the long struggle that now lies ahead of us and for the radical changes that we will need to demand of ourselves and our leaders at every level. Let us hear Greta's call to action. Let us delight in the earth, our natural home. And then let us speak and work and act and write and organize and vote, considering every day and with every choice that what we do now will, as Sophie said, make the future. May we take this truth to heart and make the changes that can no longer wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Rutledge, for that. Coming up, we have Allegro school nurse Hannah Nolbashard and two students to talk about climate change and health.
Hello, I'm Hannah, and they asked me to speak today, but it's a youth-led climate strike, so I wanted to get some kids up here. My first student that wants to speak is Catherine. So Catherine, come on up.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Catherine from Allegro Charter School of Music. Hi, I'm Catherine from Allegro Charter School of Music, and I know some people from Allegro are here today. And wow, I didn't know there was going to be so many people here, and I'm glad you came out today to talk about climate change. I want to start this off because we all know what climate change is and how it is affecting us, and I just want to talk about how us as a youth group can help change it. And one way we can do it, because we are under the age of voting, we can talk to our friends, our families, significant others, doctors, nurses, government officials. You can march, you can do protests, anything that can help. Woo! And you know, something in high school, people are getting made fun of for bringing hydro flasks and stuff like that. And you know what? You bring your hydro flasks, everything helps. Everything helps. Metal straws, I know they are using us, like metal straws, it's like a marketing strategy to get us to like help. But I mean, they do sort of help. Hydro flasks help. Reusable water bottles in general do help, and stuff like that. Thank you for letting me speak today.
And the next student that's going to come up and speak is Tallulah.
Hi, my name is Tallulah, part of the Kupanda tribe, and I am 11 years old. I became a water protector in 2015 when I went to Standing Rock to protect the water from the black snake, also known as the We are all here because we love our home and we want to take care of it. We are all standing on indigenous land and we are standing on Gullah land. Our ancestors taught us that anything we do will affect the next 7 generations. The planet's future is our future. All of our resources need protecting, including the soil, water, air, and the forests. We all know recently the Amazon rainforest has been on fire. These trees clean our air that we need, and the roots of all the plants help hold the rich soil in place. If there is no plants, the soil would flow into the rivers. The reason the Amazon is on fire is because of cattle farming. Cattle farmers regularly start illegal fires and have been for decades, so that they have fields for the cattle. The little fires spread, and now all is on fire. So if we eat less cow meat, we can show the cattle farmers that the rainforests are valuable. In fact, as an individual person, every time you eat a plant-based meal, you are protecting our resources powerfully in every direction. Because animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of climate change, devastating at least 31% of the land on the planet. Each plant-based meal protects from water pollution, soil erosion, carbon and methane in the atmosphere, deforestation, and waste. I personally chose to be vegan when I was 3 years old and have been my whole life. Being vegan isn't as hard as you think. If you want more information on having a plant-based diet, we have some free recipes. We will be by the big sign over there. Remember, the planet's future is our future. Some kids that helped us plant the big sign couldn't come today, but they send their love.
Thanks, Catherine and Tallulah. All right, so again, my name is Hannah, and I am a school nurse here in Charleston. I'm here to tell you that climate change is affecting the lives, the health, and the well-being of humans right now. Air pollution from coal-fired power plants, automobiles, and industry is preventing asthmatic students from attending school more than ever before. Extreme heat days are becoming more frequent, putting millions of people at risk for heat-related illness and death. Storms are getting bigger, stronger, and more frequent, destroying the livelihoods of all who are in their paths. They can knock out power lines, damage or destroy homes, and take away our access to safe food and water. Around the world, there is a 1 in 1,000 year downpour or flood, a mudslide, a tsunami, an earthquake, a drought, a wildfire, or a hurricane every single day. People are getting hurt or dying from climate change every single day. Allergy seasons are longer and more intense, and mosquito and tick-borne illnesses like dengue fever, West Nile virus, malaria, and the Zika virus are moving to places that they've never been before. And at the current rate of global warming and extreme weather, there will soon be no place on Earth that these diseases do not exist. And the thing that gets me most about all this, well, there's a lot that gets to me, but y'all, the people whose health, whose future, whose lives are most at risk here are those who are contributing least to the problem. And they are those who right now don't even have a say. They are the kids, the elderly, the low income, African American minority populations who the system has been set up to hurt since the very beginning. Well, I'm here to tell you as a nurse and as a mom and as an active participant in the democratic process of our country, we must do better. Yes. Our children deserve better.
We all deserve better.
We can no longer take our hurricanes, come home, take the boards off our house, and put away the sandbags and go about business as usual. That's right. We can no longer tell our children that everything is going to be okay, because it's not. Not unless we turn our hurt and fear into forward movement. We must turn complacency into tangible action and ideas into policy. Only then will we be able to look at our children and tell them it is going to be okay. So to all of you here who are leading this fight, who are not yet old enough to vote, who dream of a future where you can have children of your own, or where you can breathe the air without wearing a mask over your face, or where you can spend a day at the beach with your family, I encourage you to keep fighting. Do not give up. And ask everyone you know, especially the adults, ask them what they are doing to assure that this place is livable when you grow up. And to all of you here who can vote, to the grown-ups, these kids need our help. They are amazing and smart and have every bit of intelligence, excitement, and grit to make this climate revolution happen. But this is not a job for a single generation. This is a job for humanity. And for this revolutionary change to happen, and our lives literally depend on it, we must work together. We must all be climate activists. We must get out of our zones of comfort and complacency and into action. We will not survive if we continue putting the profits of few over the health and the livelihood of everyone else. Here's a little bit of the hopeful part. All of the things we are doing today, like implementing renewable energy and reducing our reliance on coal, like eating less meat, buying less stuff, and training young people to lead the way on the climate adaptation and mitigation efforts. It is good, but it needs to be better. And we must do it faster. We are at a point in history where our decisions and our actions right now will determine whether the human species will survive. Climate change is a health crisis. Climate change is a human crisis. And it is up to us to solve. So kids, is everything going to be okay? I hope so. And I stand up here today and see all the young people around me fighting for their lives and for their future. My hope is bigger than my fear. But as you have been told over and over again today and throughout this climate crisis, hope is not enough. We need action. We need climate justice, and we need it yesterday. And my last thought I want to say is, those of you who can vote, when you go to the polls in the coming year, you're not just checking boxes for the person you think will create the most jobs or lower your taxes. When you're standing there, imagine that kid coming up to you, hey, is everything going to be okay? We need to choose to let our kids live or to not let them live. That is the question that you will answer in the coming years.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. Coming up, we have author Gary Smith, an acclaimed magazine writer who put together the letter to send to a parent or elder. He's going to be talking about that right now.
Greetings. That ticking clock you hear, that can either paralyze us or it can energize us. Let's practice that for 1 minute. Ready? To the beat of the ticking clock. Boys only. Girls only. Everybody. There we go. Thank you very much. So, I just want to read a brief thing we've created as it was passed around. Hopefully most of you have it. And I'll just start off with a brief introduction to this letter that we're hoping everyone can send out. Since the dawn of mankind, one primal impulse has throbbed inside. This isn't the letter, by the way, so don't read off of that. Since the dawn of mankind, one primal impulse has throbbed inside of human beings, as fundamental as their own heartbeats. The desire for their children to have a better life than themselves. Generation to generation, the readiness to sacrifice, that basic human contract between me here today and you there tomorrow. It got passed down until now? No, I don't believe that this impulse, this basic human contract between adults and young people, between parents and children, between uncles and aunts and nephews and nieces, has been lost or broken. It's just been obscured, layered over by the busyness of modern life and the challenge of looking hard at our habits. But it's still beating here. It just needs to be remembered, re-summoned, resounded here in our climate crisis moment, resounding even louder than our ticking clock. How did Greta Thunberg's parents begin changing the habits? Or how did Greta Thunberg begin changing the habits of her parents that were adding to our carbon emissions? She asked them to stop and explain why over and over and over. And then they did. How will corporations and government bodies, city, county, state, and federal, all made up of adults with children, nephews and nieces, how will they stop sending up deadly carbon emissions and start turning to renewable energy sources that are already available? When those children, nephews, and nieces begin asking, then demanding, this basic intergenerational justice.